Welcome everybody to Panfish Nation. Along with Mark, I'm Lyle. Mark, we got a great guest tonight. We got David Martin in here with us. We're going to talk about bluegill, crappie, and other panfish species here in just a minute. But what do you say we welcome some people in to chat?
I'd love to. If you guys are out there just watching, speak up in chat so your name shows up on a list. I'd be happy to say hello to you. There's 922 Crappie Barbecue. What's up, my friend? Avid fisherman, how you doing, Avid? There's Fish in the Mid-South. I see my buddy James Alba. Behave yourself today, James. We got Lance McCougai. What's up, Lance? There's D. What's going on, D? Maurice Cason in the house. Mike Irvin. What's up, buddy? Real and Virtual Outdoors. How you doing, Troy? Here they come. There's my buddy Ryan Bortz, Blue Collar Life. Sandy Silver Fox Fishing. What's up, Sandy? Stonefly 71. Josh over at the Weekend Angler. I see the great Tim Molina in there. Chucky Morgan just popped in here. What's up, Chucky? There's Cindy. How you doing, Miss Stokes? Joe Buck 66. Robin C. What's going on, Robin? How you doing, dear? I think I got Tim Donna's in the house too. What's going on, Tim? How you doing? We do have some giveaways tonight, so you guys are going to want to stay tuned. You never know when we're going to give that stuff away. Crazy Hillbilly just popped in here. What's going on, bud? How are you?
There's Josh, the Weekend Angler.
How you doing, Josh? Again, what's going on, bud?
Crazy
so how are you doing? We said, how you doing, Crazy? How you doing, David?
Pretty good.
Tackle box Mike just popped in here too. What's going on, Mike? How you doing? Trying to get all of these done, and they all popped in late. They're starting to stack in here. AJH in the house. How you doing? All right, he's got a message for you, Lyle.
Okay, I didn't get your message, so send it to me again because they're still laying right here waiting for you. But I never got the message, so I was wondering what happened. But hey, there's Van.
Van the betting man. What's going on, Van? How you doing? Whatever happened between your bet with you and Van?
It's just kind of laying there.
Okay.
We're going to do something with it one of these days, though.
Kim Burnett in the house. How you doing, Kim? What's going on, bud?
I see that Robin C says I just got the notification that was put up this morning. Sometimes I wonder about how this all works. You know? People should have got notifications hours and hours ago.
Yeah, I just got the notification that the show just started myself. So you get a notification when the show starts, and you'll get one 30 minutes before normally. So that's how mine usually works.
Okay.
I got my chat up on my phone right here. If you see me look down, I'm just looking at the chat.
James says he sent me a picture of a bluegill he caught. Yeah, that's a dandy, man. That is a giant. Wow. I know they get big out there where you're at. I've seen some other guys catch them. 18-inch bluegill.
18 inches?
That's a big bluegill.
I didn't know they got that big either. That's a giant. He's got it on a cutting board. It takes up most of the cutting board.
That's a frisbee.
Yeah.
Seems like most people catch those out of a pond.
It may be. I don't know, but it's a big one. That's a good one for sure. Like to catch a few of those.
There's a young lady on Instagram that actually tried to get us for the show, and I think she raises them in a pond, and she's constantly getting them that size. But
yeah, that's awesome.
They're not that big.
M.R. Duggar, welcome. There's Slick. How you doing, Slick?
What's up, Slick?
Morgan?
You know, the only place I've seen, the only place I have seen where people catch them that size, David, is Lake Havasu.
Mm-hmm.
I saw some videos from Thai Pig Patrol. Yeah. He was catching some right there in the marina, and they were monsters.
They're giants. 3-pound bluegill.
Yeah, that's big.
That's
big bluegill.
Them are huge.
I wouldn't go home. I'd just camp out down there.
Oh, I would too. They get out there and fish around them boats in that marina, and him and a gentleman and a lady have done 3 or 4 videos, and every time they go down there, they catch them like that. They're just unreal how big they are. Makes me want to go out there and catch a few.
That 12-inch graph back there behind me on my boat. I don't have anything to measure the fish with in the boat, but I've caught 2 that I've laid up on that screen, and their tail went from one end to the other of it.
That was giant.
That's about as big as you're going to get around here, 11, 12 inches.
Yeah, that's a giant.
That one I had a picture of. I think I sent you a picture of it. I was holding it in my hand. I couldn't even get my hand around it.
Yep.
That was a shell cracker bluegill mix.
It was a hybrid.
Yeah, and then the other big one I caught was red breast sunfish. There's some big ones in this lake I've been fishing in.
That's what we were talking about that before the show started. Even before Mark come in, I think about how big the red breast was, and we don't have red breasts that big here, or at least not that I've seen.
I didn't think we did either until I started fishing different. I think a lot of people think they don't have a lot of fish that size. They're just not doing it the right way.
I have one. One community pond here where I'll catch them 9 inches this time of year. Quite a bit. Everywhere else, they're either their growth is stunted or. Did you lose me, Lyle, or can you still hear me?
I can still hear you, but you're kind of robotic.
Yeah, they're a little stunted, or the places are fished out. So.
Yeah. Well, you know, when I used to catfish, which you guys know, I was catfishing before I sold my big boat and got that small boat, and I'd run the banks catching bait. I had that tank over here flat full of them all the time, and you saw me fishing in it.
Mm-hmm.
But most of those fish were, land size fish, and you just run the bank, not looking for them. You can just catch those things all over the place. But what I found out changing this year was when I first started, I wasn't catching the big ones, because I'd run into places that, man, look at all them trees and the docks back there. There's all kind of fish back in there. It's nice and shady. I'd get back up in there and wouldn't catch squat. It'd be the same little old fish. But then I started changing things up. They started getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And then I'm like, I don't need to drive 200 miles anymore, because I'm catching the same fish that I was driving 200 miles to try to catch. And that's a long way to drive to go down there and not be a good day to fit they're biting or anything, because it can happen until you done drove 400 miles that day. But I've got 2 lakes right up here, and I'm sure I could reproduce it on just about any of them and catch those bigger ones. You can't run the bank and just start randomly fishing.
Traveling to fish and getting skunked is a hard pill to swallow, at least for me, which is why I don't do it as much. I'll travel to be with people or to fish with friends or something like that. But if I'm going to do some serious fishing, it's usually around here, and I'm happy with what's good in our waters and so on. So.
Well, the big ones are in the lakes that people don't think they're in. I mean, and I found it hard to believe I'm like, you got all these fish that are the size of your hand that look real mature. You can't tell me they just stopped growing. And they just, I changed up a few things, and it made all the difference in the world. Every week I went, I started getting bigger and bigger and bigger. So,
I need
more of them. I mean, and more fish.
AJH, make sure that you're sending that, because I just checked and I don't have it. Make sure that it's catfishweeklytv@gmail.com. And I'll keep watching it throughout this show to see if you get it to me, because I don't have an email from you at all. There's Slick. Glad to see him in here. Haven't seen him for a day or two. Let me ask you a question, when we're on that subject of getting those bigger bluegill and redbreast. Are you having to fish deeper for them?
No. What was kind of funny is the places where I found them at. And I mean, like I said, you got to get out there on the water and spend your first hour looking until you find the places where you can go back to. But what I found out was I could take 10-pound line, 8-pound line, 6-pound line, 4-pound line, and try each one of them, and I'd not be catching any fish. And the smaller, I could then pick up the rod with 6-pound line on it, throw it in there, and it would catch a couple fish. And when I got down to 4-pound line, it was like, okay, this is good, because I was pulling out 20 fish out of a hole that I was fixing to leave. So,
you know, David, I use 4-pound most of the time and 6-pound some of the time, but people, and I'm one of them, did not realize my whole life I've been told that they couldn't see line size or diameter or color. But that evidently is not the truth.
They can look at their eyes when you pull them out. Their eyes as big as their head. I mean, they can see something.
Yeah.
But I don't. And get rid. I got rid of the weights. Get rid of the weights. Don't have no weight on there. Get rid of the sinkers.
No sinkers.
No sinkers. No.
It's funny that you mention that. What I'm learning is if I use a sinker, I got to get my baits out there, so I need to use some sort of weight.
The way you get your bait out there. Let's see if I got one floating around right here. See that weight on that?
Yeah, weighted bobbers. Yep.
Yeah.
Weighted bobbers work great. Sometimes you need to get that a little bit extra weight on there to get them out as far as I need to do. So I'll move that weight up the line, and that'll definitely slow the drop rate down for the majority.
And I set a mark on here, so I was always the same depth when I'd slide the bobber up. But what I found works better for me. I mean, I go down there and easily put 100 bluegills in the boat, decent size. Is keeping the bait moving. Cast past it and reel into it real slow and keep it moving. Just a little bit, and that way you don't deep throat a lot of them either because you feel them pick it up. So, and that makes a big difference.
Yeah, a lot of times that's what they want, especially the big ones.
And I've been catching them off beetle spins too. I swore up down that fish quit biting beetle spins, but once you get them agitated and get a little bit going on when you start catching them at, throw them beetle spins in there. They've been hitting them too.
Yeah, you get them all worked up into a lather.
But what's funny is I used. See if I got one. Sorry, I'm running all over the place.
No, that's okay. Are you using slip floats, or are you using floats that attach to your line?
I don't do the slip float thing. I don't use any slip floats.
That's a nice garage.
I don't like those slip floats at all. Plus, the slip floats don't have weights on them either. If you don't want no weight on there on your line, you're gonna have to have a weight somewhere, unless you want to, And the one thing I have found out is don't get on top of the fish. Don't get on top of them. If you're fishing in 5 or 7 foot of water, the minute that boat floats on top of them, you might as well leave. Unless you catch them little tiny things, they don't care. They'll bite it. But the big ones, they're out of. But that little thing right there, I tried every color there was. I tried green, yellow. But the minute I took that little thing right there, that color there with the little green stripe on it, they'll tear that thing up.
That's the only color that my Walmart carries, by the way.
The only one, huh?
That's the only one that carries.
I come from Walmart, but they like that size right there. I could put the bigger one on like that, and I don't catch them. They don't like that. You think they'd tear that up? They don't like it.
Wow.
I bought a little yellow and black ones and touch it. Not my lake anyway. Maybe somebody else's lake, but they won't mine. I would have thought that little yellow one with the black stripe on it, they'd eat it up.
You ever try catching them on those little Panther Martin inline spinners? Those work pretty good for panfish as well.
But I found them to be a lot more. I think when a lot of people go out and fish for them and they don't catch big ones, because I went to the same places and fished the way I used to fish, the big heavy line, weight on there and everything, and not catch any big fish. Go back and come back an hour later and use small line and be real quiet, catch big fish in the same places I wasn't catching them in.
Now, when you say it being quiet, are you talking about being quiet in your boat?
I'm talking about staying back off of them and taking a reel and casting to them.
Okay.
I know a lot of people make fun of them, and you can make fun of them if you want to. I don't mind, because I've used every heavy-duty rod there was when I was catfishing, but I use these because I can cast them a mile with no weight on them. I mean, I hate an open face. I'd rather burn it. I'd rather burn them as use another one with all that line twist. So I use them little push buttons. But the nice thing about them, you can take one of them little push buttons and with hardly
anything forever. They just go and go.
Especially with 4-pound line on. But you saw that video I posted the other day where I caught that 5-pound channel cat on that on that little old bitty 4-pound line on that little tiny Zebco ultralight rod, man. It took me 30 minutes to get him to the boat. He just kept emptying my line. I'd bring him in, he'd leave again.
Yeah, 4-pound is what I use. I've been contemplating getting some 2-pound, but I haven't been brave enough to do it. So
there's something else I figured out too. Of course, everybody will have to try this in their own lakes or whatever. Every lake could be different, and is the full moon. The day of the full moon is not good. I mean, not for me here. I mean, all I find is channel cats in there on the full moon. It's like it's like 3 days. It's like 5 days out, 4 days out, they're on fire. 3 days after, they're on fire. But the day of the full moon, 3 times in a row, I've had channel cats in the beds and perch and bass on the full moon. It's like that full moon brings other fish in shallow. And they come in there, and when them big old channel cats come in there, as soon as you cast into the area you're fishing, you wind up hooking one of them jokers. And but 5 days before seems to be better for me than the day of the full moon. Don't know why. That's just 3 times in a row.
Well, all the old timers used to say the full moon was tough time to catch fish. I just go when I can.
It is, but it's not the day of the full moon has not been good.
we just recently had that super moon, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm.
I went out fishing 2 days after it, and man, I suffered. I suffered for 10 hours straight, not even a bite. I even tried to do a little pan fishing too, and not even a bite. I don't know what the heck was going on.
But I switched. I mean, like I said, for years I catfished, and I caught plenty of those. And I just decided to do something else. But the bluegills was kind of challenging at first. I was chasing them around, driving down to South Carolina, driving all over the place, and then I was like, just started fishing around here and just changed up a couple things. And people swear up down those. You've seen some of them. I mean, they're big fish in those lakes. You just got to go in the right place. You got to look for them and find them. You can't just go out there and start fishing around a dock because it looks good and it's got a stump sticking up. It don't work like that. You'll catch little ones, but you won't catch the big ones.
What kind of structure do you find best to catch bluegill?
Flat bottom mud.
Flat bottom mud.
Yep, flat bottom mud with bluegill beds. You've seen me post pictures of them with hundreds of little holes in the ground.
Yep.
They don't like certain substrates. You're wasting your time even looking there. They don't. I mean, like I said, I went in the back of coves and I've looked at them and I'm like, man, I got to get back up in there. It's shady. There's sticks everywhere. There's an old dock over there and a half boat floating in the water. There's going to be a lot of fish in there. And you get up in there and all you do is catch them. They're not very structure oriented. They make their own.
The fish out your way, do they spawn more than once a year out there?
Yep, they come in every full moon or around the full moon until the water drops down below 75 degrees. This year I was having a hard time fishing around here because it stayed cold longer. And, I was fishing before the water got up to 75 and it wasn't working out too well. And it's probably going to get bad here again in another couple of weeks. Temperatures dropped a lot around here in the last couple of weeks. A couple of the lakes that I fish in up here, 2 lakes up, it's fed out of the mountains. And that water cools down a little bit more.
So it cools down earlier in the fall too.
Yeah. Yeah, it cools down a little bit. But next year I'm going to be starting out the year right with bluegills, doing what I did this year. I expect to see a big difference. I'm going to go after them this winter, too. I'm just going to catch them and go out when they move. I'm going to start chasing them in the wintertime where they go when they leave the bank. I'll be focused on them all winter. But if it's 75 degrees, it's got to be 75 degrees. And then it's got to be the first full moon. But once that 75 degree drops, it gets below that, you're done. As long as it's 75 degrees, they'll keep doing it every month.
AJH, I received your email this time. I did get it, so that'll be going out in the morning. Thank you, Mr. Duggar. We appreciate that very much.
But I've been
fun.
I like the way you think, Mr. Duggar.
Yeah, me too.
I watched a lot of good people that fish for bluegill stuff and saw what they said, but Like I said, my lake was different, but I never caught fish like that going down there for bait for catfish. I'd go catch 50 of them real quick, but they were all tiny.
Well, that's because you're in a hurry. You're not looking for other.
I'm not looking for where the big ones are at. Yeah.
Yeah. And the big ones, everybody, I know Lyle loves big baits and stuff, but if you're in a hurry, you take what you can get.
That's right.
Well, well, you guys know how I feel about the killing off big fish. I don't like it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm kind of hesitant to even tell anybody what I learned because I don't want to keep people from catching fish, but I don't want to see people go eat all the 10-inch fish either because they'll do it. And if you got a pond or a lake and you keep doing that and multiply that over and over again, next thing you know, that's all you're going to do is catch small fish because crappie, catfish, and some of your other fish aren't as finicky as bluegills are. It's very important that those big ones exist in that water or the water will get stunted and you may not ever get it back. If you take those big ones out and you take them out in mass, it's going to make a difference after a while. It may not have 25 years ago when 4 people went and fished, but when you get 1,000 doing what 4 people were doing, you can ruin your lake.
Yeah, I think that it doesn't matter what species it is. Yeah. If you're taking all the fish out, it doesn't take very long.
And every lake is different. I mean, a big fish for down in Florida might not be. You might be able to eat the 10 inch. There might be a lot of 12s in there. You need to find out what's big for your lake, and if you can avoid it, don't eat them. I mean, eat the 8-inch ones or something like that, and put them back. Unless you just don't care. I mean, everybody can do what they want. I got a little worked up about it a few months ago over a few things. I'm like, just let them do what they want to do. I will go to my lake and do what I do, but each to their own. If you got a pond or something and you're taking all the big ones out, you're probably going to ruin your pond.
Yeah, it's hard not. It's hard not to let that stuff get to you when you care so much about what you're doing.
That's this way. Here's how I feel about it. If I was down there fishing next week and I caught the North Carolina state record bluegill, and the only way I could hear about it was risk killing that fish for people to know it, I'd take a picture of it and throw it back in. I just would.
Yeah, I would too.
It's not that important to me to kill a big fish like that out of my lake just so I can go take a picture.
And I'm more so that way over a catfish because it takes so many years for them to grow that size.
But, like I said, I've kind of gotten over my little frenzy there where I was upset a few weeks ago about it. But
well, and I feel like that about a lot of things, but as long as the law says they can do it,
that's right.
Then it doesn't do me no good to get all bent because they're not doing anything illegal. And
it's like you can't change anything that's going on in this world right now by yourself.
That's exactly right.
You ain't kidding.
And people don't stick together. They just don't. If they did, the economy wouldn't be like it is.
But for your own area that you fish in, if you do things like that, it'll be better for you in the long run.
Absolutely.
You go down to Florida, I think you could probably eat everything you catch because the whole place is just ate up with it.
Yeah.
But up here or in a smaller reservoir or something, or a farm pond, I watch a YouTube channel, and the guy eats everything he catches out of it. It's a big pond. It's got some tanks in it. I'm not gonna mention any channels, but he eats them all. And I'm sitting there thinking, man, put something back. But it's his. If whoever let him fish it, he can eat what he wants, I guess.
Yeah.
It ain't hurt me if he does it. But anyway, enough of that.
One of the things that people have to understand is the problem with especially catfish, but it affects other fish too, is PCPs and all the mercury and all the stuff that gets in these fish.
Oh yeah.
It didn't get in the smaller fish, and it doesn't get in the younger fish. It's in the older ones that's been in that water for years and years and years and years. So why would you take those out, eat them, and take a chance on ingesting that stuff that you're not supposed to be having when you can keep the smaller ones, the better eating fish?
Exactly. Because I think bluegills are plentiful enough where if you wanted to eat 100 ham
yeah. Yeah, and like you was saying, they every time the full moon comes around, they have a breeding cycle, so they're going to continue to reproduce
I think the first breeding cycle is the one that really takes where they empty out.
Mm-hmm.
They just go through the motion on the like last month in July when I was catching them. Those females didn't have any eggs in them at all.
Oh, really?
No, none. And I doubt very seriously that those catfish left any behind, and all them
Oh,
white perch bass that were coming in there. But the males were still peeing all over the place like they were going through the motion.
yeah.
So, but the females were emptied out after that first go round. I think once they dump them, that first go round is probably the one where all the making more fishes happens. After that, I think they just go through the motions and just. I don't see no eggs in the females when I catch them after that.
Now, do you eat any of your bluegill you catch, David? You just throw them all back?
I throw them all back. I throw them
Yeah, I
all
know
back.
you used to throw all your catfish back.
I don't eat them either. I'm
Yeah,
more eat the bluegill and catfish.
I understand.
I mean, the catfish is eating everything that falls on the lake. They say.
Chrissy
But
says Ernie's laying in bed watching TV. Came in for late breakfast. That was the end of mowing, and glad he's looking a little bit pale. Well, Chrissy, we're glad that Ernie's home and take good care of him.
100%.
I don't even eat trout out in the mountains anymore. Come out of these creeks. I don't eat them. I got no interest in eating any fish I catch anymore.
Yeah, I don't eat trout either. I don't like trout, but I
Somebody,
wish they'd let me use them for bait, but they won't do that in Missouri. So
I've started a few times to cook some of those stripers and hybrid bass in the wintertime that I fish for. But probably the best eating fish I've ever eaten was out of the lake right up here above the house up here years ago. When we go up there and those stripers, man, you get big old fillets of meat off of those stripers. I mean, a big old thick piece of meat. It's hard to beat that striper meat.
they say they're really good. The only one that I ever had, I wasn't really impressed with. That was a long time ago, and probably the way it was cooked. Um, but I've caught some of them. I've never caught none of the great big ones. But the ones that I've caught, they don't even fight like a medium-sized channel cat around here. And that may just be the strain that we have or the water that they live in here. But
Well, them stripers up on the lakes that I fish up here,
that's what I hear.
yeah, and that's the reason I sold that big boat too, and got that little Sea Arc back there, that B-17 that I had with that 115. I couldn't get up in shallow water with it either. I was scared I was going to scratch it up. This thing right here going 8 inches of water, and I've been all the way up to the dam up on one of the lakes I fish up here, and I would have never took my other boat up there.
Yeah.
Never. And with that boat there, even though it's not as big, I've got all the gear on it that I need to do what I need to do. But I can get in places with that boat that I would never have taken the other one. And next spring, I plan to run all the way up to the dam in these rivers and catch them stripers when they run upstream. So I'm going to be getting into some of them. I'm going to be heavy on those probably early spring.
Tony, Creole Catfishing says enough of Tony Satchery's fish breading will make anything taste good.
I mean, I like fish. I mean, I go to the fish camp occasionally and eat fish. Who knows where they come from? But
I like catfish and bluegill and crappie, but one of my favorite fish to eat is cod.
never.
And we don't have any of them in Lake of the Ozarks, I promise you. They're ocean fish, but I really do like them really well.
I think if you were going to eat some fish, they probably would be better to eat them in the winter when the lake's real cold too than when it's hot.
I agree.
Because in the summer, there's just so much. I notice fish in the summertime when I catch them, they'll have parasites on them and all kind of stuff growing on their skin and everything else. But when you catch them in the summertime, in the wintertime, you don't see that. Their skin
Do you have an idea what causes the parasites to be on those fish in the summer?
I have no idea, but if you go out there at nighttime, you guys know I spent many hours out there all night long fishing, watching fishing at night. And I've got my boat pretty lit up. And if you take a good look down in the water, you see all kind of stuff in that water swimming.
Yeah.
Millions of little bugs and planktons. And I guess just all those parasites are more active and they don't, in the wintertime, they're dead. They're not in the water.
I have a theory about leeches being on catfish. When the fronts move through and they bury themselves in the mud, I feel like that's where they get those leeches.
Might be.
Now, I don't know that that's true, and I have no way of substantiating it, but I can't see a leech chasing a catfish down to get on it to attach itself unless it's laying in the mud. So
I don't,
that's my theory.
if people that are in this lake playing in this water all summer realize what was in that water that you see at night, I don't think they would get in it.
Well,
I
there's some
wouldn't
truth.
I wouldn't want to scratch my skin and get my skin in it.
Yeah, that's the thing.
There's stuff swimming down that water at night.
Yeah, I hear you. You know, I got some spots on my legs, and I don't get in water
I've been doing some
with open
research to see
pores.
if piranhas will live in cold water. I'd like to introduce some into these lakes around here, gnaw on a couple of these skiers' foot toes so they won't get in the water no more.
Kim Burnett says everything hatches in the summer month, and he is correct about that.
We had some piranhas in the lakes around here. You wouldn't have no skiers.
Frank says it is. That's why they're always on the bottom of the cats. That's kind of what I was thinking.
I've never seen a leech on any fish around here.
You know, you'll catch two or three of them that won't have a leech on it, and the next one you catch in the same spot will have 10 or 12 on it.
I've never seen a leech on any fish.
Oh, man.
And I've drug
And
them
they're
up.
always muddy. They're always muddy whenever you see them.
Yeah, I pulled them up when they've been in the mud, buried up in the mud, but I don't. There'll be mud on the fish, but I've never seen. Maybe we just don't have them in our water around here. I don't know.
Yep.
But
Jeremy says he just put his dad a Hook 7 reveal on his boat, side scan and everything, and no brim bed or treetop is safe anymore. Let's talk about that for a second, David. In my opinion, for pan fishing, hey Stephanie, how you doing? Side scan is probably the biggest asset on my fish finder.
That's the only way. You can't see those beds on down scan, or you can't see them on sonar.
That's
Live scope is completely useless for bluegills, in my opinion.
I think so.
Really?
It is completely useless. The only thing live scope is good for is crappies when you got them over a tree or something, and you're trying. But side scan's the only way you're ever going to see bluegill beds. You can forget about anything else. You're not going to see them.
I love side scan. I think it's one of the greatest inventions that there has been for catching multiple species of fish.
Well, I put that 12-inch Garmin on the back there, the ultra high definition. Then I got the small one on the front so I can actually see the side scan when I'm up front. But that thing right there has been. I don't know why I ever didn't have that big one to begin with.
Yeah, those new HD models, they're game changers.
They don't give them away though.
I'm telling you, the bigger the screen is, the better they are, and the older you get, the more you require them.
You can side scan and you can actually see the bluegills in the beds.
Yeah.
The live scope is completely useless for that. I've got one on my boat right there that I'll probably use crappie fishing some, but I bought that, and the only thing I found that thing to really be useful for is it's a 1648 CR tackle. But anyway, I was fishing for stripers with Jeff last year, and I was using the live scope in the water, and I could see the fish, and I'd say we're fixing to pass over some. And the next thing you know, we'd have a rod go down. Not all the time, but most of the time. You could see that you were fixing to come into them. The thing that I like about the live scope is if I'm out and I'm using my regular sonar or my down imaging and I see fish, what I didn't know was until I had that is most of the time they're gone. When you scare a lot of fish off when you go over the top of them. But I could drop that scope in the water and I could see that they're over here. All that bait fish or all those fish that I saw moved over here. And instead of me fishing over here where they was, I had a minute ago, they're not there anymore. I can at least fish in water that's not empty. That's what that's been good for. I don't have the perspective view on mine where you can see up in front of you in shallow water like the bass guys do that try to track down a bass. I'm not going to waste my time sitting there trying to throw a lure in a fish's mouth. About the only I blur it for some reason. I do that. But anyway, I've only found it to be useful for finding out which way the fish moved and went after I passed over. It's no different than passing over and throwing one of those floats in the water. You drive over the fish and you drop a float in the water on your tree. I mean, but a lot of times what people don't realize probably is they dropped that float on that tree and they might have left. They're a lot more scarier than what you think when you can sit there and watch them move.
That's one thing that people do, especially in shallower water. Any noise in that boat, if you don't have something for noise reduction in the bottom of the boat, everything that happens in that boat, they hear it.
Well, in this boat, I don't know if you can see it or not, but I've got that EVA foam through that whole boat. You don't hear hardly anything.
And it's not pinging.
This right here's kind of. If I drop something on it, you don't hear it. And it's just that EVA foam. I got it throughout the bottom of the whole boat. It's held up pretty good too. I like it. You can take a nap on it too if you lay down on the floor. It's pretty soft.
Yeah, I was going to say fishing barefoot's usually a nice way to do it too, if you ask me.
That you can. I mean, it's just as soft as it can be, and I don't put them on. My camera's having a hard time focusing on me. But I don't put them. I got another reason I quit catfishing too is I got tired of the mess. I mean, I drag 5 or 6 of them fish in my boat, and it'd be crap all over my boat, and they'd be everything else, slime and nasty. I'd have to come home and clean it for 2 days. Well, you saw what the fish crapped on my boat with Jeff that night. It pooped all over my boat. It was like poop everywhere. It was awful. It was worse than any poop I've ever dealt with.
Was it nearly as bad as when you and Jeff was out and that one had its way with Jeff and crapped all over the side of the boat?
That was the one that crapped all over me. And he
Yeah.
all that poop all over your boat. But yeah. And then he got close to it and he said, why my camera doing that?
Oh man, that was one of the funniest videos I've ever seen.
I got something close to him. They had poop on it, and he said something about, "Get away from me!" And then he started telling me I'd burn it down. He talked about burning my boat. I'd burn it down. I'd burn the whole thing down.
I've had him poop on me. It was like a cat went to the bathroom on me.
Unless you have had one that weighed 50 pounds do that, where it's been feeding all night by a grain elevator where they're loading soybeans, you have no idea what that's all about.
What was so bad about it was it was fine, and we were taking pictures of it. And he told me, he said, "Let's get a picture of it." So I pulled it back in the boat, and all of a sudden it went all at one time, exploded. It was everywhere.
Understand? Is that your camera making that racket?
A humming sound?
It sounds like a catfish.
I don't know. This little camera's doing some weird stuff. It's getting out of focus for some reason. I don't know why.
That's what I'm wondering, if it's not adjusting, trying to adjust. I hear a heck of a sound. I don't know where it comes from.
Might be this light.
It might be.
I wasn't doing that until I got up and walked over to the boat.
Yeah.
But I don't know. What I get for buying a $20 camera.
Oh, it'll be all right.
But that was one reason I switched over to panfish, because I can come home with this boat right here. I don't have to clean it. Nothing in it. I mean, it's just clean.
That's awesome.
With catfish, I was constantly washing the boat, and I just got so tired of it.
I put carpet in our boat when I redone it here last year, but there was a reason behind that. It was on sale, and it was much cheaper than what you could buy bed liner or anything like that, to reasonably close. But if I was going to do it again, I would probably just forget about it. The only other thing is paint, bed liner, the natural aluminum floor decking or whatever that's on that gets hot if you don't have shoes on, and sometimes we don't. It will get very warm on the bottom of your feet where the carpet is tolerable. But you do have to get the pressure washer out and take care of it when you come in. You just got to.
I pounds of slime in the boat every time.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
It's just all over everything, and I don't miss that. I mean, I might go do some flathead fishing here in late September and October. I still got my stuff over to do it with. I might go. Man, the camera's driving me crazy. All of a sudden, it don't want to be focused anymore. But I might go do some flathead fishing, see if I can't pull a few of them in again.
That'd be a lot of fun. In that boat, you have all your anchors and everything to where you can just go out
Well,
and catch them.
I don't. No, I got rid of all the anchors. I don't have an anchor anymore. You can't see it, but on that side there's one of those electric pole anchors.
Uh huh.
And I got a pole anchor on the front and a pole anchor on the back, and I got those 8-foot long poles over there.
Yep.
They just go down in the motor, and I got a remote right here.
Oh, so the shallow water anchors, right? The automatic.
Yeah. So what I'll do is when I'm fishing, I'll just get up close to the bank near where I'm wanting to fish. Just get a little closer to the bank and just push them poles in.
I love those shallow water anchors. I hate it that I lost one, but it is what it is. But they do a great job. I've used them on the big rivers, but they work really well on lakes.
Yeah, you just got to be in 6 foot of water because they're 8-foot long poles. So
Well, I have adapters, 4-foot adapters on mine.
with my bad neck, I'm not doing anchors anymore.
Yeah, I understand.
And then I've got that Altera, that remote automatic control.
Mm-hmm.
So just push the button and don't have to get up. Man, it's
Yep.
Yeah,
Mark
them
has
Alteras
one
are
of those.
nice when they're working good. I hear a lot of people
They're
complain
irritating.
about them. I hear a lot of people complain about them, but I have never had any issues
I've not
with
had a
that.
good problem out of mine. It's like any trolling motor with a remote on it. The biggest complaint I hear from people is they come up on the place where they're going to fish, and they push spot lock while the boat's still moving. You know, the boat goes 4 foot past where you told it to stop, then it swings back around, goes bananas trying to correct. You need to stop it right and make sure the boat's stopped before you mash the button. If you don't, you'll all that. I mean, you can't do that. And if you don't set the boat size right in the remote, like this boat's smaller, so I set it to -2. When it tries to correct itself, it overshoots, and it's constantly overshooting. You set that thing on 10 with that little boat with that trolling motor with that 24-volt battery on it, it'll throw you in the river.
Hey, David, is your camera vibrating? Because I think that's why we're getting that noise in the focus buttons.
It might be the fan come on.
Yeah, that's what it looks like. It's almost like a fan's rattling it.
I think that's what
it's
might
doing
be
it again.
happening. I think that's what's happening. The fan come on inside the computer, and I'm gonna try something. You'll probably be looking up at me like a weirdo, but that ain't gonna work. And I'm not gonna stand there and do that either. Sorry, not happening. Here, let me try this. I got an idea here. Let me get me a piece of Velcro. I'm gonna stick it on the side of my toolbox right here, and I'm gonna do this right here. And I'll be looking at you from the sideways.
That works for me.
I mean, I know that's got to be irritating with that thing vibrating like that because it's driving. I think Mark's right. I think you heard it vibrating.
Yeah, that's what it sounded like. And you could see actually at the end there, you were vibrating too.
I know it was driving me up the wall. I was like, man, this is nuts. But I've had it Velcroed to the side of the computer. I got an idea. Use my IT brain. Decide talking about a fish.
There we go.
I just had to look up at you.
That's great right there.
That's a
We can
good
see the
view.
inside of your boat now.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about your boat. How do you have it all set up? What kind of modifications you do to it? And
Well, I had a lot bigger, fancier boat than that, and I got rid of it. That one has the 12-inch Garmin on the back, live scope. It's got 24-volt lithium battery in the front. It's got the 12-volt lithium battery in the back. It's all tiller because I wanted tiller. I don't want nothing in the floor. I want to get up and walk all the way around the floor and not have nothing in the floor. That's what's so cool about it. You can just fish on whatever side. You don't have to run around. So I had the double windshield. I just don't want it anymore. And then I've got storage down the side, and I cut a hole in that one side over there and put me a water storage. It's like a container with a lid on it. When I bought that boat, it was empty inside. It was just an empty Sea Arc 1648. I bought the trailer bigger than the boat on purpose. I wanted to be able to step up in it like this instead of instead of having, you seen boats where people about, you can't get your leg under and get in it. And
Yep.
with that trailer being bigger, I can step right up in there. And I've got a ladder on the front too. I can walk right up the front and walk in the boat. But,
That's some wise thinking too, because I have that same problem with my boat. That trailer is too far underneath that boat to be able to use the trailer to get up into it. So
yeah, it looked stupid when I brought it home, but I made that. That's a custom made up guide on the side there to fill in the empty void there.
Mhm.
I did it on both sides. They were pontoons, and I cut it. And I used to work at a machine shop. I'm pretty good with metal, and I cut it all up and bent it the way I wanted it to go. And then I put my rod holders on it, and got more rod holders over there. Those two graphs are networked together so I can share screens. It's got a network cable that runs down from front to back. Then I got the pole anchors. It runs about 25 miles an hour. My big V-hull 17 that I had, I could just take off down the river 45 and not get beat up. But now this one here, I do most of my fishing when the sun's coming up. I'm out there when it's dark, and I leave about 11 o'clock. But if you're out there on the weekend and everybody gets kind of crazy, that boat will make you wish you was in the V boat again.
Yep.
But now, as far as getting back in bluegill fishing and getting in between docks and being in 8 inches of water and running up the river in a foot of water and stuff like that, you can get there with that. I can get away from everybody in that boat. I can go up the rivers and get away, some of the side rivers, and go way up the river. I gave up a whole lot of real estate for that. But I'm going to tell you, I wouldn't go back. I mean, I love it. I mean, it's just not made for getting out. I mean, I've been out on Lake Norman where I've had 4-foot waves coming over the front of my boat and storms and stuff in that V17 I had. And out there in the middle of the lake at night and fog, you couldn't see in front of you. I'm going to do that in that one. Yeah, I don't want to die. But now I will go fish at night with it here soon. I've got rod holders on it. I'm going to, like I said, I'm going to go do some flathead fishing in it here in late September and October. I like being close to the water like that. For the type of fishing I'm doing. Before I had to, I had the side of the boat was that high.
Uh-huh.
When I'm fishing with worms and stuff like that, I can just wash my hands off real easy. And if you catch it, you can get your fish right up out of the water and flip them in the boat real easy. It's actually pretty stable. It's 1648. I mean, it's surprisingly stable.
When I grew up, David, that was about the only size boat, the biggest boat you ever seen on the Mississippi River was a 1648.
Yeah, well, some of your bass trackers, that's what they were.
Yeah, they just, the old fishermen, they bought them in a 30 or a 40 horse motor, and that's what they fished out of.
Now, I do have I got a bilge pump in there in case I ever do get any water in it. I can at least turn that on in case something gets slung over on me or something.
Yeah.
But, I've been fishing on these lakes for 25 years. I'm not a bit scared of it. I know not what to do and who to get away from.
Yeah.
Although I did the other day run it up on some sand. I got that video and I hadn't showed it to anybody yet. On Lake Hickory, they got a live cam out in front of the marina. And you can look at it and you can go back and see yourself out there when you're out there fishing around the marina if you play the video back. But there's some guys on the dock talking, and there's like a foot of water over here to the side with a marker. And I know it's over there, but I was talking to them and I wasn't paying attention. I drove right up on that thing. I was stuck on it on video. And I went back and I've got my own video and captured it. But it's been a long time since I run up and stuck myself like that. I had to promote. But I was talking to people, and I was like on video, on live feed on Lake Hickory, stuck on a sandbank.
Yeah, me, I'm kind of silly when it comes to that stuff. I was testing out some waters, actually the beginning of this week already in my boat, and I ran that thing up onto some shallow stuff.
Now I do have the old guard on the foot. Probably can see it if you look in the video.
Mm-hmm.
That thing works. The foot never touched the sand.
Uh-huh.
That guard did
on the scag, right?
Yeah, you can see it right here. It's like a little fin thing that comes out on the bottom. Makes all the difference in the world. I mean, I didn't get nothing on the prop. I just ran it up on the sand a little bit. But the biggest thing I can say is, from what I've learned this year, and I plan to grow on it next year, is just you got to change it up a little bit. Those big bluegills are in there. I mean,
what's your favorite bait? Are those beetle spins your favorite bait for the big blue?
No,
Big bluegills, or what are you using?
Hook up as much worm as I can get on it. The regular old worms.
Yeah.
But this is my favorite line.
Cigar.
Yeah, I was using 4 pound in some of your cheaper lines, like this right here. I mean, you can take that, and those channel cats will snap that a lot quicker. This right here, it's a lot stronger than what it looks like. It's a pretty good line. But now the only thing I did is I side scan everything. I mean, you have to do this stuff on your own lake. I mean, I'm not giving none of my holes away by talking here. You side scan, get the line down, get the weights off. It makes a big difference.
Hello, Clayton. In my mind, the strongest line that I've found, whether it be mono or braid,
I hate braid now. I just don't.
I love braid. I can't get away from it.
I used it for years catfishing, but I got tired of almost sinking my boat trying to unhook it off the bottom of the lake.
I've not had that problem.
And it sawed the ends of my rods up over there. If you go to grab it and you got a big catfish ripping line out of there, and you grab hold of the rod, it pulls that braid down into that foam cork handle. Every one of my rods over there sawed up, the old ones.
It'll do that.
But I tell you what, I went to this right here for my catfishing, and it's 30 and 40 pound whisker seeker. I've never had even thought that I would have a fish break that line. So,
Yeah, a lot of people are real happy with that whisker seeker stuff. At least the guys
I love it. I've hooked into all kind of fish and drug them all over the place with that line. I've never broken it.
So I noticed you held up the Vanish. I'm not sure about that cigar. Are those both fluoros or no?
This right here is fluorocarbon.
It is fluorocarbon?
Yeah, these reels right here. I mean, you can say what you want to, but you take that little rod and little reel right there, that little ultralight ugly stick, and you hook up a big bluegill with it. It's the same thing as having a 40-pound catfish on a big rod.
They're fun, that's for sure.
They're fun.
And this is the one I hooked that 5-pound channel cat on the other day about. I mean, it was just sitting there going, zzz, every time I tried to pull back, I was basically empty the thing off there for a minute. But anyway, these rods came, these came with a 4-pound line already on them, but it was that strand. It had a blue hue to it, like strand does. But it was 4-pound line. Didn't work as good.
Yeah.
I changed it out. I took it all off and put that on there, and it made a big difference.
I've tried every conceivable kind of braid and monofilament known to man, as far as I know.
That's all
And
I did right there. That little.
In my opinion, for what it's worth, there's nothing that compares to Sufix. They make the best of everything.
I've used it. It's a good line. I've got some around here somewhere.
I really like their braid.
As do I. I need to order some of their fluoro and try it out.
I can help you with that.
I know, Lyle, you can. I have no doubt you can. I was going to say I needed to order some drop shot for the fall, but I
can help you with that.
As the doctor was in here earlier, he doesn't even know that either.
I've had these. This is one of them that's probably in better shape than the other one, but I've had these rods forever. These old Eagle Claws. That's what I catfished with for years.
Yep.
And I've had flatheads have these things bent over double. You can't break them, but that's where that braid was chewing up my.
Yep.
Rod
I can tell you why that does that.
Yeah, because my grabbing it.
Well, if they put that rear grip or rear guide back further close to the handle, it wouldn't bear down on there like that.
I don't like getting into the rod argument with people, but I'll take this $24 rod right here, and I'll fish for anything you're fishing with them $80 rods I got over there.
Mm-hmm.
I've never broke one of them.
Depends on how you're going to do it.
I've had flatheads have these things bent slam over. It just don't. Probably been 100 catfish caught on this thing, and it's still in good shape. I'm sure it's not going to be as good as one that's custom built like you would make. The first short stuff that you go buy in the store, it's hard to beat that rod right there.
My brother's got tons of them.
Yeah, they hold up.
He's got tons of them.
But I would tell people if they're going to go out and they want to make their bluegill fishing better, get the line size down.
That's some good advice right there.
Get the weights off. And
Matt wants to know what kind of rod that was that you was holding up there.
That's an eagle claw. They still make them. They sell them up here at the store above the house up here.
Mm-hmm.
It's an eagle claw, medium heavy, 7-foot casting. I'm gonna tell you what, they sell them up there at Piedmont Bait and Tackle still today. I think they're $29 now versus when I bought them when they were $24.
Mm-hmm.
That rod's been through it, right? I've got a bunch of them over there. They've just been through it. But I wouldn't be scared to go take fish for anything with them. I've got some yellow ones over there that are for small panfish rods. You can take them things and bend them all the way over like that. They don't break. Little yellow eagle claws.
Lyle, you had a couple of giveaways you wanted to do, correct?
I do. I have some ZFG jigs. Then I have a package that I made.
For those of you in chat, if you want to get in on the giveaways, enter in #GetSomeJigs. You'll be entered to win the giveaway, and Lyle will get the jigs sent out to you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. David, I appreciate you taking your Monday evening and spending it with us here on Panfish Nation. I know that you've really got into catching a lot of bluegill and stuff as of late, and I thought that it would be very educational for our viewers, and I believe it has been.
I've had this rod right here for 30 years. Little old eagle claw. You remember I was showing you the other day you can't get those anymore?
Yep.
But these things just, I mean, it's so fun to catch fish on them. They bend, slap over, and but I've had it all them years, and it still ain't broke.
I had a lady that I used to build rods for, and she had some kind of disability with her hands, and she had to have that kind of a rear grip on the rods that I built for her.
I like
And I found those for the guy I built 2 rods for her, and the guy had 4 of those grips, and they was cork, and I bought all 4 of them, and I bought some used ones that was taken off of broken rods and drilled them out.
Right.
And them was the only 2 rods that I ever built, and them I've got them laying around somewhere, but I'd be damned, I can't find them anywhere.
You find them, you let me know. I'll have you build something really cool with them.
Well, I will. Once I I'll run across them at some point. When I do, I'll let you know.
I couldn't find any more of these anywhere. This is the shortest handles I could find today. And these are ugly sticks, but I searched the planet over looking for them. You couldn't find them. These are just these are right here are your medium ugly sticks. And I went. There was a thrift store uptown, had a whole bunch of them for $20 a piece, brand new.
Wow.
The only thing I could find wrong with them is one might have been a half-inch shorter than the other one. It was like they might have went through the factory and they said that was a half-inch shorter. We can't sell that. The second bin it went.
That or they popped the tip off of it and just cut it off and put a new one on.
Now I don't like 2-piece rods. I hate them. I took the 2-piece part and just super glued them together. You can't pull it apart. I can't stand 2-piece, but I bought a bunch of them and I've been using them just so I can cast a little bit further than that little tiny rod. If I need to get further out, I grab the longer rod. I've
had guys send me 2-piece rods and wanted them put together where they'd never come apart again.
I'm gonna tell you what, that's a nice reel right there. I finally bought some of those. Those Omega.
Let me get you.
And I'm gonna tell you what, that's the Omega Pro. I mean, there's a big difference in that and in one of the cheaper reels. That thing will cast a mile.
And how much do those run?
About 80.
Oh, okay.
But when you catch a fish with them and you're like them little small, cheaper ones, if you catch a fish on it, reel it in, the first time you go to cast, it goes halfway out there. And it's like, you got to get the tightness out of the string. That one never does that. Don't know why. Never does it. Never does it.
Did you ever Did you ever try any of that? What do they call that stuff you spray on them reels?
Real magic.
What?
Real magic, I
Yeah,
believe.
real magic. And it still does it with that.
Still does it with that. I tell you what I do when I come back from fishing. I take all my rods in the house and I run hot water over the spool. I just unscrew it and I get a bunch of dirt and stuff in there anyway.
Right.
I just take it and run hot water over the string. When I go back next time, all the memory's gone.
Really? That's
All
awesome.
of it gone. Just run hot water over it for a minute or two.
That's a great
I mean,
tip.
it doesn't. I mean, it's not gonna hurt you really get a little water on the string.
Yeah, that's awesome. Amy
Again,
Evans has got
It just
joined
knocks
us.
all the memory out completely. But what I have found is this 4-panel line don't have a lot of memory to it. It doesn't do all that twisty as bad.
Yeah, I don't like line memory at all.
But no, that's what I would tell everybody to do though. If you're going out, when I first started fishing these lakes that I didn't know anything about, I spent the first couple hours just looking instead of fishing, running up and down banks, marking places, running up out in points, marking places, and then I started going back every time to those same places, and there'd be a different set of fish in there. It seemed like every time I go on a different full moon or weekend or whatever. They claim that those fish will come back next year and use the same beds. They'll come back and clean them out and use them again.
Could be.
I believe that to be true because I find them on the same beds every year.
Yeah.
I'll tell you another way you can find beds, and some of you guys might have seen me post it, Google Maps. Go up on Google Maps and then zoom in on and come down as close as you can to the shoreline and look around. You'll see them.
That's a great tip right
If
there.
it's a clear lake, you sure can.
You can see them, and you can go right to that spot and fish. And you can see the darker spots around the shoreline. And I'll tell you something else I noticed too. Your different types of fish beds look different. Your regular bluegill shell cracker mix, their beds are always dark inside, darker looking almost. But those little red breast sunfish and the I forget what you call it. They got the bigger mouth on them. My brain went dead.
Warmouth?
Green sunfish?
Green sunfish. Their beds will be up closer to the bank and they'll be white inside, like shells and stuff in them. Don't know why. There's a big difference in the way they look.
Did not know that.
Yeah, I know that green sunfish, they'll get right up on the bank when they're spawning.
Yeah.
But once I found the beds and I found the right line and found what I knew would work, when I'd come back up on those same places in the morning, I'd stay back, way back away from them, like the other side of the garage over there. I'd cast into them, and usually the first two fish would be the biggest ones out of the whole thing. I mean, it would just the first two fish would usually be the biggest ones.
All right, folks in chat, here's your last chance to get in on the drawing. We'll give it another minute, and then we'll draw the names. Enter in hashtag get some jigs to be entered if you haven't already.
I'm gonna hit one of our bigger lakes around here next year, some in the spring of the year. We got some giant shell crackers around here too. I've caught some pretty doggone big ones in this lake up here. I'm gonna go up there in February and March and get up there early and try to get when the shell crackers start getting ready to bed. I'm gonna go after them pretty hot and heavy too in March, Aprilish. I drove all the way down to Santee Cooper to go down there and fish. We drove 2 hours down there. There was trees and swamp everywhere. Didn't hardly catch anything down there on that first full moon. And
Really?
I'm like, I got pretty aggravated. I'm like, oh, but don't need to do it anymore. Your lake down the road got it. Unless you just got, it's a big lake. There's bigger ones in there. There's no way a lake that's the size of Lake Norman, which covers that much shoreline, with one of these big lakes around here. You can't tell me somebody caught all big ones out of it. I don't believe it.
Oh,
No, not at all.
And now I know they didn't.
Yeah.
But I think the ones that you got to worry about, like a pond or a smaller body of water, you might be more out to have a smaller. But these big lakes, they're in there somewhere.
Yeah, I agree.
There's no way a lake I don't know how big Lake Norman is, but it's huge. I mean, it's the biggest man-made lake in North Carolina. You can't tell me as big as that lake is, they got all them bluegills out of that lake.
No.
They had enough people catch all of them, but it's just, like I said, change up your line, find out where they're at first, and start repeating with that line and get the weight off of there. Cover all that hook up, throw it in there and see what happens.
Lyle, you ready to do this drawing, bud?
Let's do it. We'll do the
All right.
ZFGs first.
The ZFG jigs made with tender love and care. There we go. Round and round it goes. Let's see who won this one.
I'm gonna get out there this winter and do some crappie fishing with that 4-pound line and see how much of a difference it makes.
Look at that, Robin C1. I believe this is the first time she's been in our chat, if I'm not mistaken. Congratulations,
awesome.
Robin. And how do you want her to contact you again, Lyle?
Robin, you can contact me on Messenger, on my personal Messenger, Lyle Stokes, or you can contact me on the Panfish Nation Messenger. Either way.
Or you can email him at catfishweeklytv
At gmail.com.
I don't think she's on Facebook. I'm not sure.
Okay.
And let him know that you won those ZFG jigs, and he'll get those out to you.
Yep. Just need your complete name and shipping address.
And the second one is for what, Lyle?
There's some jigs that I made.
Oh, some Lyle Stokes jigs. Those
Yeah.
are my favorite. Oh, Lyle, I forgot to tell you, I caught some big ones on those. The other
Really?
day. Oh, yeah.
Oh, cool.
Hillbilly Hippie.
Hippie.
Congratulations. You too can contact Lyle through the Panfish Nation Facebook page, Catfish Weekly Facebook page, or catfishweeklytv@gmail.com, and let him know you won a set of Lyle Stokes, or you won some Lyle Stokes jigs on tonight's show.
And we will get them shipped right out as soon as I get the shipping address and get them to you.
And another thing that I found out this summer too is, at least on our lakes around here, when I first got that boat, I would go up the river to get away from everybody. Never found any decent fish up there. Never found beds. Never found nothing. They like the bigger end of the open lake. Every one of them I found is in the bigger end of the lake, in your main channels and stuff off to the sides, not in the main river, but some of your bigger channels on the bigger end of the lake. You go upriver, they disappear. Not there.
Wow.
I went 5 miles up a river off the side of the one lake I fished in and never found the first bluegill bed nowhere. Not one. I think people that fish in a river that's a river only, where they don't have a bigger body of water to go to, then yeah, maybe. But if they got a bigger body of water, everything I found in 2 lakes is in the bigger parts of the lake.
Dead Sea Pirates Fishing's got a question for you, David. He says, what's your favorite type of hook for panfish?
I use, I've got a pack of them right here. I went for a bigger hook.
I like that too.
See if I can find it. I went to bigger size hooks.
The laser sharps?
Yep. But I went to the bigger hooks, and I'll tell you why I went to a bigger hook. Because I hear people all the time, they say, I'm not catching many fish around the bank. We put a smaller hook on there, and then half the fish eat the hook, you have to kill half of them.
That's right.
I'm telling you, the little ones will eat that too. You don't need to do that. Going to a smaller hook is bad because you're hurting more fish. You're not catching more fish. You're better off to use that right there and not choke and kill half of them you catch, because the bigger fish that you're wanting anyway will eat that. There's plenty of room left over.
I like the long shank on them.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you, if you get that long shank down inside of their mouth, what I like about it is I can grab hold of it, flip it, pop it right out of their mouth.
That's correct.
But people go to smaller hooks. Again, that's me being the conservative part of me towards killing fish. I mean, you're going to throw it in the ice, you don't care anyway, who cares? But if you're going to throw them back, you're better off getting a bigger hook. I'd rather miss a bunch of little fish and not kill half the fish I catch.
Yep, I agree.
That's just me. You want to use a small hook, use it. But you don't need it.
Not if you're catching bigger fish. If you're catching the little ones, and if all you got's little ones, they're gonna have to work to get that big one.
But you know what? I don't sell them short. Because if you throw into a place where there's mostly small ones, they'll eat that big hook too.
Oh yeah, they get it.
Yeah, they'll get it. They might have to work at it and tap at it a little bit more, but if it's taking them that much trouble to get it, I probably don't want them anyway. But I'll see, you'd be surprised with small fish I've hooked in them with them big old hooks.
Oh
But
yeah.
I just don't see no point. I mean, I've seen people do that over and over again. Maybe a small hook. What for? I mean, because they think the fish ain't getting it in their mouth or something, but
they are.
That's not true. Matter of fact, I've caught more fish by casting out past the bed and reeling it through it real slow, because I don't think a lot of times you feel them even suck it up. I think they pick it up sometimes, but if you got it moving real slow, you'll feel that.
Yep. Chances are you're going to catch them on the side of the mouth or something.
Getting the side of the mouth, you get more of them, because I think a lot of times you don't feel them pick that up. And then you asked me about the depth of the water. I'd say on average, most of the water depth I'm catching them in is 5 to 7 feet.
5 to 7 feet.
5 to 7 feet.
Very good.
And like again, you stop and you're fishing around a boat dock, or you're fishing around a pier, and you think, "Oh, I'm gonna go around all these stumps and bushes and trees and this thing on the water." It's all right if you want to catch 100 little tiny ones. If you want the bigger ones, you gotta get out of that habit and go look for the right spot.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And I'm telling you, you could be 2 foot away from the right spot and not catch anything, and move over 2 feet and get back into the area where they're bedding at, and then make all the difference. I mean, just being 2 foot out of the bed makes you'll miss them.
Oh yeah, definitely, because they're protecting those beds. If you don't get it right on top of them, they're not going to pay any.
They're not going to leave it very far.
No, they're not going to go too far. For sure not.
I've hurt 1 or 2 fish by accident, and I've tried my best to get the hook out of them, but then I'm thinking, well, I didn't want to really do that. I felt bad, but I figured tonight some big catfish is going to eat it, so I didn't.
It won't go to waste. Something will eat it.
I made dinner for something, but I don't
catfish or turtle or crawfish.
Something will eat it. Yeah.
Going to this bigger hook, I went from hurting 5 fish to sometimes hurting none.
Yeah, that's great. That's real good information.
You got any more questions, Lyle?
I'm good. I think we've covered a lot of ground tonight.
Yep.
David, thank you so much for your time. We appreciate it. We learned a lot tonight. And
we did.
I really do like that boat, and I think you got a real healthy attitude towards pan fishing. So thank you for being on.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
We covered a lot of ground, answered a few questions, and told people a whole bunch of information, and they can go back and watch it if they can't remember it. So, David, thank you so much for being a part of our show tonight. We appreciate it very much, and we'll get you back on here one of these days with a different topic.
Next summer, I'm going to have a lot bigger ones next summer, because I'm going in with everything I did this year and going back starting earlier.
There you go. Makes sense to me. Want to thank everybody for watching Panfish Nation tonight. Be sure to tune in to Catfish Weekly Monday night at 7 o'clock, and followed by Mark's Catfish and Crappie podcast following that. And then we'll be back next Thursday night following the bait shop. Mark, you have anything else to close out with?
Nope, I'm good. I thank you for the plug. Thank you again, David. Thank everybody for watching. And I know you guys are going to enjoy those jigs that you get from Lyle and ZFG. So congratulations.
Absolutely. We want to thank everybody one more time. We'll see you next week.